Hello and welcome. I'm Jane, and today we are joined by my beautiful friend Yanti Ropian.
Hi,
Welcome, Yanti.
thank you.
Would you be able to give us a quick background of who you are, where you came from, and why you're doing the MBA?
So my name is Yanti. I identify as Angumuti Yadaikana Wapabara Miriam. I grew up in a small Aboriginal community called Injinu in far north Cape York Peninsula. And the reason I chose to come down and do my MBA is because I'm looking for opportunities to progress in my industry and make a positive contribution and impact.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for that. So, one of the things that I'd like to touch on today is about acknowledgement to country.
Yeah.
Would you be able to explain to us what it is, why it's important, and how to properly do it?
So, an acknowledgement of country is recognizing and paying respects to the custodians of the land. So, the way we see country is the boundaries where we're from. So, my country being Angamuti in Cape York, the land that we're on now belongs to the Bijigal people and the Gadigal people. So, these are the custodians of this land that have been here for, time immemorial, and so it's always important to acknowledge that they're the first peoples and this is their country that we're on.
And when would it be appropriate to do it?
So you can do an acknowledgement at the beginning of, say, like a presentation. You can do it via Zoom, so wherever you're from around Australia. I've seen in Zoom that people have, when they've signed on, they said, hi, I'm on this country, so that's acknowledging it. So you can do it pretty much wherever you are, what event that you're doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And the big question is, how do you do it?
All right. So there's many ways to do it, but doing it from your heart, being genuine, I think is an important start. If you don't know where to start, you can always download some transcripts and then put them into your own words and just practice them.
We'll include a link to the transcript on the bottom of the comment section. Sorry.
No, you're right. And so if you're comfortable doing that, I would encourage you to do that. If you have a bit more understanding and history of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture, and you can also write your own as well. So how you do it would be, before I begin, I acknowledge that I'm on Bijigal and Gadigal country of the Eora Nation, and I pay my respects to the ancestors and elders, both past and present, and I thank them for caring to country, for allowing me to live and work here. So that's just a small acknowledgement.
Yeah. Could we peel it layer by layer? Because it's very interesting what you explained to me before. Because you start with, I acknowledge, and there is a difference between I would like to acknowledge and I acknowledge. It's very subtle, but it has a loaded meaning, right? Are you able to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so saying I would like to acknowledge kind of gives you an essence of I can choose to do it or I can choose not to do it. So the reason I say I acknowledge is the fact that in it's a fact that this land does not belong to me. I am a guest on this country, so I acknowledge because it is and was and belongs to the traditional custodian. So I always say I acknowledge first. I don't say I would like to acknowledge because for me, it's not about a question of whether this country is theirs or not.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, it is.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for that.
Oh.
And also, you mentioned I pay my respects to elders past and present as opposed to past, present, and emerging.
Yeah.
Is there any significance as to why we're now omitting or why you prefer personally to omit the emerging portion?
I guess in some Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander communities, the fact of the matter of emerging may be a contested issue. So it's always good to be aware and I guess not fall on the default, but just acknowledge that there are elders past and present, current right now, and that various communities across Australia, depending on where they are, the issues of an emerging elder is an entirely different topic to talk about, and it's only one that's discussed within communities. And so for me, that's not. It's important for me to acknowledge that in some communities they may not use emerging.
Yeah.
So I just choose to be on the safe side and say past and present.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. And lastly, and this was on the exercise that you taught me on before as well, after you finish your acknowledgement, you also extend that acknowledgement to other First Nations, either in the room or over the Zoom.
Yeah.
Why is that important?
Because you never know who's, in the crowd. So whether you're physically, in amongst a group or you're on a Zoom meeting with hundreds of people, it's guaranteed that there might be one or two people who identify as First Nations. They may not come out and acknowledge it and say it to you directly, but this is a nice way to acknowledge the fact that they may be present there that you may not know of, but you're also recognizing and passing that respects on. So that's important as well.
Yeah. Awesome. And I think that's just the first step, right, for everyone to be socially responsible, but also culturally aware that First Nations people may not look like what you think they should look, but it's very important to still acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. And how are you finding the MBA program so far?
I'm loving it. I get to hang out with this one here.
I get to hang out with this one here too. Cool. All right. So there it is. Acknowledgement of Country. If you are someone who is working in Australia or a company in Australia or even a country overseas wanting to work with a company in Australia and you don't know how to do a proper acknowledgement to country, please reach out to Yanti. I will include the link to her LinkedIn profile down on the comment below. And also, one last thing. I forgot what was it. Press the subscribe button so that every time I release new videos, it'll come straight to your box. So you don't have to waste your time. That's it from us today. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
All right.
What do you think?
That was awesome.